Hi, everybody. I'm Carl Nestor, one of the instructional designers at Learn AU at Ashland University. And I want to welcome you to the session here. People are slowly coming in. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Cliff, Jamie, Rebecca, Vicky, Doug, Heidi. Welcome. Let's see if we get people. Hello. Vicky says hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Who is this?
Oh, this is Daniel Liu from Penn State.
Oh, from Penn State. Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll start at 10:45, so we have a little bit of time before we'll actually start. How's everybody been doing? How's the first session worked out? Vicky says, say hi to Mary Ann. Okay, Vicky, I will. Vicky, how did your first session go? Rebecca says first session was okay, but more of a sales pitch for a program and didn't really provide much information. Good for future professional development, though. Rebecca, which presentation was that? Chart your professional development course. Okay. Well, I hope you were able to get something out of it. I hope it wasn't, it was good in some ways. Let's see. Oh, I got somebody else to admit. We're up to about 11 people right now. They're slowly coming in. Couldn't access another one, so I went QM. Oh, sorry, Vicky. Rebecca says, but I learned a lot from other institutions, need help requiring PD, and about incentives they use so they can be beneficial. Okay, good, good. I'm Carl Nestor. I'm one of the instructional designers here at Learn AU, and I'm sort of the moderator. We're still waiting for our two guests or our speakers to come in. Let's see. There's Sean Orr. Hello, Sean.
Hello, good morning. I'm so excited for this session.
All right. It's not mine, though.
I know. And Carl, I have to tell you, I'm moderating a session at the same time as yours, which is going to be a wonderful session as well. But I was so excited for that VR session. So I can't wait to watch the recording of it.
Right. It's a good time to give a free plug to my one right after lunch in the virtual reality. So, and we're actually going to have somebody who's going to be talking to you from virtual reality. So that'll be pretty cool. It's a new way of really looking at how to be engaging and talking. Here comes one of Alisa Smith. She's going to be our guest speaker. I need to make her a co-host. Admit Tim, Alicia. Let's see, Alicia. Alicia, I'm trying to make you a co-host here. There we go. Alicia,
Morning.
good morning. Is this Alicia?
So it's pronounced Alisa, but yes.
Alisa. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, good morning.
Morning.
Pretty much we'll let you take care of your PowerPoint slides.
I think Vince is going to run it.
Okay. I don't think I've seen him yet.
I think I just left a session that he was on as well, so I'm hoping he joins us soon.
Okay. And you're located where?
We're in Lourdes University, so we're in Sylvania, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Very close to Toledo.
Okay. Sean Orr has written something here. If you're learning new insights from any of the sessions today, make sure you go to the Google PowerPoint presentation. You can access it at the link below and add a slide. Your slide will be featured in the closing, plus you'll learn all of your insights. So, okay, good point. There's Vince Laverick. That would be him, right?
Vince Laverick.
Laverick, okay.
Yep.
All right, let me find Vince here.
Hello, how are you?
There, Vince. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for helping us.
Sure. For everybody that's coming in there, my name is Carl Nestor. I'm one of the instructional designers at LearningU at Ashland, and I'll be the moderator and sort of helping out. Let's see. Somebody else is asking me something here. It's more greedy. I keep getting kicked out of the breakout sessions. Any advice? Let's see.
Are you okay if I start getting set up?
No, please do. We want to start at 10:45. So what I do need to do is make you a co-host here. It's kind of hard because as people keep coming in there, the list keeps shifting. And so finding your name and then I lose your name. So let me find your name here. There it is. Okay. You are now co-host.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Nicole says, hi, everyone. And go, Vince, go. Nicole Williams says, go, Vince, go.
Of course she did.
It's a fairly small community.
Yes.
Mark Grady, I keep getting kicked out of the breakout session. Any advice? Oh, that's a nice slide.
All right. So you could see it. We're in business.
Yeah.
All right.
Sean said she's been to the Lourdes College several times. I always think of Lourdes, France when I think of Lourdes.
Wonderful. Alisa, how are you?
I'm great, Vince. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to be seen.
Thank you, Sean. We think our campus is pretty beautiful too.
And the record button is on. So so we're good. We have still a few more minutes to go. We're up to 31 people signing in. Everything seems to be going well. We had about 39 in the first session that I did. Let's see, here's a new message down here. Hello, Ruth. And Anna, welcome. I feel a little bit like I'm on a telethon here. See how much money we can raise. Okay. Wendy Wozniak is here. Hello. If anybody wants to say anything, you're more than welcome to join the conversation. Let me know. John Zhu. Sheila is calling from Ohio Dominican University. You can unmute yourself, I think. So if anybody wants to say hello, you're more than welcome to jump in there. We're up to 40. Let's see, I got 2 people on the waiting list.
Hi, my name is Doug Henry. I'm from University of Mount Union, but working at home right now, and just looking forward to what I have to learn. Thanks for all
All
you're doing.
right. Mount Union. What was your name again?
Doug Henry.
Doug Henry. You have a new instructional designer starting there too, don't you?
That's correct.
What was his name? Andy?
Yeah, last name's evading me right now. I can just go by the excuse that everything is Corona crazy, or yeah, you know.
Well, say hello to Andy for us because we know him.
I will do. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, we got 10:44. We got about another minute. And Vince, your slides are up there. You're sharing your screen. Okay. We'll give everybody a few more minutes to see if they're going to come in.
You tell us when to go. I think we're ready.
Okay, well, we still have, it actually starts at 10:45, so we'll give people another minute to kind of get in. 2 more people are just joining now.
I'm just going to ride on Elisa's coattails. She's the expert here. I'm just going to follow
There
her
we go.
lead. So you tell us when we're ready.
We're up to 51.
Vince, that is so untrue.
There's been some problems with the Zoom internet with some of the people. Some of the, I guess one session had some problems. So, well, Kinsley is coming from Baldwin Wallace. How are you today, Kinsley?
Doing great. Thanks for having us. So far, it's been a great day. Last session was terrific.
Which session was that?
The one that Gene Wasuri and Tammy Masek did
Okay.
was really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Getting STEM involvement on campus. Yep.
You guys got a pretty cool campus. I like it.
Thank you.
Are you working from home?
Oh yeah, working from home. It's been 2 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Missing all the flowers on campus. That's the campus probably looks beautiful right now.
And we got Christina from Northwest State. Hello, Christina. You can unmute yourself if you like, and you're welcome to join the conversation. We got 54, and we're at 10:46. It looks like everybody's here. So we have Alisa Smith and Vince Laverick. They're from Lourdes University, and today they're going to be talking about easing online and hybrid course development for instructors, creating a blueprint. So without further ado, I'm going to let them start to talk.
All right. Well, thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. I think the best place for us to start is for us to introduce ourselves. So Alisa, do you want to introduce yourself and your role at the university, and people can get a framework of where we're coming from?
Sure. Vince and I represent two different entities on campus. I am the Director of Retention and Student Success. I also direct the Academic Success Center. So my involvement on the e-learning committee is from a student support side and how everything we do impacts our students.
And again, I'm Vince Laverick, and I come to this in a weird roundabout way. My job is the chair of the education program at Lourdes, so I oversee the graduate and undergraduate education programs. Not involved in any course development or anything directly. I do have a background in online teaching, so I have supported Quality Matters as a peer reviewer, as a master reviewer, and I think I'm certified to run the APPQMR face-to-face course. So that's kind of my role and where I come to these things. So I think it's important for you to understand that this is maybe for some of you like going to your grandparents' house and them telling you a story. And this is our journey that we went along to get this done. We created blueprints for our courses. And for some of you, this might be something you've done many, many years ago. But for us, this was a big step. This was a big movement forward. And some of you may be in the same boat. So I guess I'm telling you that because I see 58 people here. And if you want to run at this point to something else that may be more interesting, I won't hurt my feelings. But our goal is just to kind of fill you in on what we did and how we got to this point. So I think the most important place for us to start is so you understand where Lourdes University, how it's set up. Because I think when you understand, we thought it was important you understand where we come from. The next piece is how our university is set up, because I've realized in my time that no university runs exactly the same and the processes are different in each place. So how we're set up is Faculty Senate has set up an e-learning committee, and Alisa and I are both on that e-learning committee. And then from there, the role of the e-learning committee has many different parts. Their job is to more or less recommend to Faculty Senate suggestions for technology and how it will be implemented, used, and meets possibly HLC standards on our campus. So with that, at the time when we were developing this was about 2 years ago, we had one instructional designer. And I think it's, again, important, you know, we're coming from our one instructional designer for the university was not healthy at the time, and he ended up passing away very soon along in this process. And our instructor knowledge was interesting because from my perception, the university had just really made a transition. So many of the old guard people were moving out, and you had a large influx of newer faculty. And with that happening, the university went to a cost savings mode, which I believe a lot of universities went to, and they used to pay people to get training and pay people to get to bring their courses online, and all that money dried up and went away. So I think there was a bit of resentment between online, or people being asked to go online because of the, as you know, the extra work and how it was actually going to run. But our ultimate goal of us being set up is to help our programs, help our university meet the HLC requirements, which require some sort of rigor for your online programs, and then also to have, you know, constant training for faculty, and then constant make sure rigor continues as years go on. So I've talked a long time. Alisa, help me out here. What have I missed?
Yeah, so also when we're talking about our big picture, so getting an idea of who we are as an institution, we are a small private Catholic university. We highly operate in small face-to-face classes. So this is a bit of a departure for some of our students as well. Our biggest seating class is 40. And so this is really helping us. So as Vince was talking about our old guard, some of our old guard had not done online. And I was pretty excited. I've been at the institution, this is my 20th year, so I've seen the change of some of the faculty come in and out. So the younger guard of new faculty moving to some courses online. We have hybrid courses and a few courses online, and clearly this last spring, when we had so many faculty move courses to online, myself, I moved 3 courses online, and I not taught online before. So it was really seeing how this impacted students. And so this really made a big difference for us this last spring.
All right. So the next piece, I think, for, again, understanding how we work. So at Lourdes University, the e-learning committee set up a process for courses to become approved. So if you want to run an online course at Lourdes University, you just can't go do it. You have to, and again, this may be the way it is at your place, but we want to just explain how it is ours, not assuming that anyone else operates the same way we do. You have to submit an application. At that point, the e-learning committee makes a decision if it should be approved or not. Quite honestly, we approve every course, but what we're really looking for is that administration has supported that move. Because what we found is some administrators don't want certain courses going online for many different reasons, or even hybrid, which is what the other option that we facilitate. Once the approval happens, the instructor is provided a shell. So what they means is we work in Canvas, they're given a Canvas shell that's blank, and they have to build their course. And this is where it's interesting because we didn't at the time, we had one instructional designer. And again, I mentioned that he was not healthy at the time and wasn't here every day. So it really fell upon the instructors to design their own courses, which we found a lot of things were happening. So they designed their courses based on, we would give them the Quality Matters rubric ahead of time. And then we had a rubric that we did in-house. So we used the in-house Quality Matters rubric review. And then at that point, they would submit the course to us, and it would either be approved because they met all the standards and we followed the same rigor that Quality Matters has, or we would reply back to them that revisions have to be made, and we would try to help them through that process. Now, someone asked how many courses or programs per year are we talking about? That changes every year. This year, I think we looked at about 15 to 20 new courses that came through. The year before was much more because we had an entire master's program come through, or a couple master's programs through our nursing, and they were completely online. And it is overwhelming. And the e-learning team are actually the ones who review the courses, and everyone on the e-learning team has been through the APP QMR course. That's our internal requirement in order to review a course, so that we can provide suggestions. So that's our internal process. And you can imagine that as we start seeing commonalities that would come up, and that's really where this all started for us to say, hey, we need to do something to support our faculty, because there are just certain things that they didn't know how to do when they were looking at the rubric and their constant questions. So we created, that's kind of the impetus of this blueprint. And that's the term our vice president of, I think, instructional design at the time, or vice president of information technology. We changed terms too often here. I apologize. I don't know if you have that issue too. But he at the time kept calling it a blueprint. So that's really how it gained that name. And a blueprint can be applied to an existing course shell, and it can be done in many ways. So that's our process on campus. It's not perfect, but that's what we use. So I think, Alisa, you wanted to start with students population here on this one, some of our challenges we faced.
So when we're talking about it, so we've noticed, or I've personally noticed in the last 5 years, our student population has changed. And so think about the student product that we're getting from high school. And so there needs to be more consistency for our students. So our students were struggling when they couldn't find the same thing in different courses. And so because of academic freedom, we all use Canvas differently, right? My dream from a student success standpoint is that everybody uses Canvas for certain things, and we're getting there, right? But I thought in our opening statement this morning when Steve Kaufman was talking, you know, he was right on point when he talked about the consistency and the continuity for students, how vital it is. So the worst thing is that when a student gets frustrated, so we've experienced some just shut down where I can't find it. So that's where I come at from this.
Also, we looked at our challenge that faculty did not have instructional design support. And that was a massive challenge that we identified. And we didn't know how to best serve. They understand their content, but there are certain things that they were consistently making mistakes in. For example, they didn't know how to connect to like academic support services, how to connect people to technical support. They just assumed the students knew how to do this. I think we see that also in our face-to-face courses, at least I do in the education program. So often we take for granted that students know how to do everything. And we don't often make that explicit, which, as you all know, because you're Quality Matters people, Quality Matters makes that explicit for us and makes us say those things. So that was a challenge for some of our faculty to handle. The next issue we had is when they were trying to put them in, the links weren't valid, or they were copying old courses. I don't know if you have that challenge of people just recycling the same course without making updates, and they were linking to pages that didn't exist. Or if they did, they were someone who left 15 years ago with wrong phone numbers. And students, when they did reach out to them, were frustrated because they're not returning my phone call. I left them a message because our voicemail still worked. The phone numbers still work until it's allocated to someone else. So they were leaving messages and not getting responses for months. And then they were angry about that. And the last piece is just consistency. How do we have a consistent platform as much as we can? Because I think in the beginning, as Steve Kaufman mentioned, that consistency is very important. It takes some anxiety off. So we found that very true in what we were building. Alisa, I think it'd probably also be important for you to mention our student population, like what are maybe our demographics.
So yeah, and so I'm going to do this a little later as well, but if we look at, we have about 1,000 to 1,100 students. We are a highly Pell eligible school, so it means we have some serious financial need. And so often I hear the comment, well, students are young, they use technology, they'll be fine. Well, because I can do Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat doesn't necessarily mean I know how to navigate this course as well.
Perfect. So we went to as with any presentation, I think there needs to be some backing behind it or some research. So we have a few studies that we used to kind of guide us and inform us as a committee as we're looking to do this. So I recognize that some of these sources are a little bit older, but you have to remember this was a few years, 2 years ago, we really started the impetus of this project. So the first one was just, I think that I heard in every presentation so far, and some of the other, it's just time. Is we all realize that you have to be trained in the Quality Matters standards. It's not something that inherently I think you can look at and understand completely, because it is complex and it's not a yes or no. There are multiple pieces and there are sometimes different ways to accomplish the same goal. So making people understand that it's not always a black and white answer that they want. but there just wasn't time for them to seek that certification, which I believe the presentation I attended just before that talked about how some schools are using Fridays or trying to find that sweet time to get people to go to training because it's hard. So we realized that was a challenge. The second one was a well-developed course. I think anyone would admit face-to-face or online or hybrid is going to lead to more student success. So the better we develop our courses to make it easier for them to navigate and show us that they understand the content and not have the way in which we do the material be a deterrent for them to display their knowledge. So that obviously is apparent. And the second one, or the last one I found, was that there is a higher failed retention rate in online courses or hybrid courses than face-to-face. And this study actually cited some universities having an 80% failed retention rate. And that's, to me, that's unbelievable. With our population, I think that Alisa is the transition for Alisa here, with our population, that they have enough barriers already, and we don't want the course delivery or the course method to be the barrier. So Alisa, I'll flip it and let you go with your part here.
Yep. So this is really, we submitted this way before COVID happened. But COVID has just changed so many things in my life the past several months. And so I really wanted you to get an idea of the students that we're working with. And so many of you are probably familiar with the HERF funds, which is that federal funds that we're getting to distribute to some of our students to help them. And so I was heavily involved in this process. And so I thought I knew our student population. I got to know them a lot better as we developed how to go through this. So the federal government helped us decide who was eligible for the HERF funds. So it was anybody who was not eligible was fully online programs, and we only had 2 of those. International students weren't, and students had to have submitted a FAFSA. So when we looked at that, we had 847 students who were eligible to receive HERF funds. And we wanted to help as many students as we could, but then we also needed to acknowledge different student populations. So everybody received some funds from us. Then we started looking at our economic issues, and we knew that, and so we divided all of those 847 students by EFC, which is their expected family contribution. And so we knew that between $0 and $1,000, which is what a family's expected to be able to pay towards their tuition, we had 227 students. We had 227 students that had 0 EFC, almost 300 students that had less than 1,000 EFC. So we know that population is just in dire straits until if any crisis happens, then they just have no way to go. We knew that if students that have under 10,000 EFC, we have over 500 of them. So we're looking at highly financial need students. So some of that, we had lots of students who don't have Wi-Fi at home, who don't have a device at home. And so when we talk about, we have to look at who our student population is, right? So we had just lots of different ways we were handling this when we went to COVID and we moved our courses online. But I think just that reminder of who we are. We held a virtual graduation celebration, and some of the administration came to me afterwards and asked why students were in cars to participate. And I said, they're going to places where they have Wi-Fi. And so that's just really kind of who we are in a nutshell.
Okay, so I see a few questions. It's probably best to address them very quickly for us so we don't fall too far behind, because I know when I ask a question, if I don't get answered, I forget about it. One of them was, did we find a way to get faculty to come to training? So that's where it gets interesting. So we are, our committee recommends training. We aren't the ones who are supposed to deliver the training. That's the way our university is set up. We recommend to our instructional, we have, I think, 3 instructional designers at our university, some tied to different programs where they're not readily available to the whole university, but we recommend to them to run training, and then it's upon them and administration, and then hopefully Senate's recommendation to do them. We do, however, every year we've sponsored the APP QMR course for our faculty and administration, quite honestly. we probably haven't had the best reception of those. I've found that about a third are people from other universities that can come from the consortium, which I'm sure you all take advantage of. The ones that do come are the ones that I found are your high achievers, the ones that are doing a great job already. I've found it a challenge to get the rest of the faculty to jump in, and that's I think some of that's time, some of that's just the APP QMR course is a whole day. You're asking someone it doesn't really fit well if you're teaching classes in the middle. So that's been a challenge for us to fight. The other piece we really have put in, though, to go with the training is we really have pushed administrators to come. And I believe all but one of our deans have attended the APP QMR course. And the reason for that is, I know I'm getting a little off track here, but we didn't want faculty, some of our faculty are teaching exclusively online. And we felt it was important for them to understand what good online teaching is and what it should look like and have that background so that they could effectively evaluate their teaching, because teaching is a big part of our responsibility here for our faculty. So if you can't understand that that's effective teaching in an online or hybrid modality, how do you effectively analyze their ability to be successful at our university? So we've really pushed that, and I think that has gone decently in the big process. So administrators seem to be understanding it. The next step probably is for them to push it. That would be ours. So let me see if we addressed all the questions here. Can we get a copy of this? I believe I submitted it, and I'm happy to share it with anyone at the end. We'll share our email addresses, so you're welcome to reach out to us if you can't get it, the one we submitted to the conference. So we're going to keep moving on unless there are other questions. Nothing's showing up. All right, Alisa, I think this one was me, right?
It was you.
What we did is we developed a blueprint, and the blueprint clearly addressed Standard 7. And I think we'll go into why we only picked Standard 7, but as a byproduct, when we were kind of accumulating things, we realized that it also addressed Standard 6.4 and 8.6. Now, if this is terribly boring for you, I apologize. My father was always very big on talk so that everyone understands. 7, 8 years ago, I wouldn't have had any clue what that meant. So 7.1, just so you get a quick understanding, if you're not someone who's intensely familiar with the rubric, 7.1 really looks at, we need to provide, how do you get to technical support and how to obtain it, and links to it. So that's 7.1. 7.2 looks at accessibility policies and services. So that's something we tried to accomplish. The next 7.3 looks at the academic support services at a university and other resources to help a learner succeed. 7.4 looks at the student services outside of academics. So 3 is looking at specific academics. 4 are the other things that might be important, maybe military personnel, how they get support services, things that you may not think about every day as an instructor, but are important to some of our students to be successful, especially in light of what Alisa pointed out with our population of some of them do need support to be successful. 6.4 looks at protecting data and privacy for the students. And 8.6 is just vendor accessibility statements. So those are the ones that we chose to put together and really try to push forward. There were others we tried slightly, but we got some pushback. And I think that's going to go into our next slides of how this all kind of came about. But this is what we did. And again, a blueprint term I'm using is what was told to us. That is just applied to the course shell when it's developed and handed out to the instructors. And so it would be seen by the instructors. It is something that cannot be changed in the course. And it is something the students cannot change. It is locked in and untouchable except for about 4 people at the university who can update it. Alisa, anything I missed there?
Nope. Right on.
So I think I think you're up here for a little bit.
I am. So besides being clearly a financially needy group of student population, we're about 40% first generation student. So that is just a different student that comes in. And so when I talk about that, it's I don't know who to ask. I don't know where to go. I want to do okay. I'm scared. When I go home, I don't have anybody I can talk about that can help me get in the right direction. And so anything we can do to make it look the same and get all the information. What I love about the blueprint is there are direct links that get them exactly to where they need to go. And it helps that it's in every course.
Yes, and the other piece, I think if you look at the items that we selected, especially like the vendor accessibility statements, most faculty don't even consider that or even think about that when they're building their face-to-face courses. So when they're transitioning to online, that's something when you put that in there, they don't know where to begin or how to even start. Other items of just like how to make sure they have accessibility or know how to link to all the other things. You can imagine the different things we were finding in courses when we're looking at them. So we thought this would be a very consistent, easy experience to have everyone have the same items. And the other piece is that now when we control it, so when something's updated on our campus, if someone moves, changing roles, we could change it and it automatically is applied to every course without us having to go back in and manually do it or tell instructors to change it in either syllabi or in their course shells, especially with the practice of people just roll their courses over oftentimes. If they have a quality course, especially if it's been Quality Matters certified, you can't change much. You have to go through another review if you change a lot. Those courses are rolled over and you want to make sure that the items that are rolled over too are accurate. So here is what we did. 3 people, so that chair of e-learning, that would be me at the time, and I guess I still am, the instructional designer and the VP of Information Services, we all sat in a room and we just gathered everything from everyone. We sent emails out and said, can you send us links of stuff that you use so we can make sure we have vendor accessibility statements and we can find them. We collected everything and then we just sat in a room and started designing it. We created web pages for content. We updated others because we realized that some were outdated. Our university, I've learned, doesn't delete pages. They just kind of move them off the active site and keep them alive on the side and then create a new one, which is a problem if instructors were linking to pages that now are still live in the background, but no one can see, and they were getting information that was completely inaccurate. So that's the process we went through. It probably took, I would say, 3 months just to design everything. We would meet once a week for about 3 or 4 hours and just sit in this desk, this office, which you probably can't do now without plexiglass around the world. But we did it and we managed to get it together, and it was quite honestly a little bit of fun to go through for me in a sadistic, demented way.
What's important for us, I think, moving forward, Vince, is that you are the only one left of the 3 that really put this together. So that's going to be a challenge for us, I think, moving forward.
Yes, and absolutely. And I think we're definitely going to point that out at the end. But we realized that there were 3 stakeholders, although I think it's important to acknowledge that there are 4. The students are a stakeholder as well. But we allowed Quality Matters rubric and the things within that to speak for the students. As long as we could we felt if we could meet the requirements of the rubric, we were meeting the needs of the students. But we had our e-learning committee that we needed to start there. And everything we did with that, those 3 of us, we brought it back to the e-learning committee and they tore it apart. They went through everything, had suggestions. We updated it. I believe next, the way it worked out, we did go to the deans of the colleges and the vice president of academic affairs next in our meeting. They seemed excited about it. When you see the areas we hit, they realized that some of them weren't familiar with it. It was quite interesting to hear like things popped up like, we don't have that. We should create that. Or some policies actually came out of us digging and going, we don't have, one item came out, we didn't have an etiquette statement that the university supported. And we realized that's probably an issue. So how do we create that? And then after that, it went to Faculty Senate, where I think this took its biggest beating. I mean, they really dug in and really had some challenges. The biggest challenge we ran into, and that's why we stuck with this, and I think it's important for you is everyone claims academic freedom. And that was a challenge we ran into. I don't know if you run into that too, but some of those battles you're just not going to win. And we realized that and acknowledged that and tried to deal with things that, if you look at all of 7, there's nothing that is content specific in those. If you're looking at how do you get technical support, I don't know a single instructor is going to say, no, I think my way of explaining technical support is way better. They're not bothered. And all those items we found were just good practice for our university and had nothing to do with educating in any way. Any of the other ones that kind of tied to educating, there was immediate pushback from faculty senate. Not to say it's right or wrong, but that's just how it worked for us in the process we went through. Alisa, anything I missed on that one?
No, I think you're right on, Vince.
I did see a question pop in. How do you lock down a course so that it cannot be changed? I don't know. I know that sounds terrible, but I just was part of the building it, and the vice president of information services, I think was his name or his title at the time. He handled that. We went to him and said, we want this as something that they cannot change. It's locked in, it's permanent, and he did it. And it looks like someone else explained that there's a setting. Well, there we go. I learned. Again, my role is in the background. We just were part of the development and that. So sorry I couldn't help you. I'm glad. Looks like Rebecca was able to. So, Alisa, I think you wanted to hit this one.
So another thing to talk about when we were at this point, Vince, we were pretty new to Canvas at this point as well. So we were learning to move, we moved from Sakai to Canvas, and how this came out when we rolled this out, this blueprint becomes an actual module in modules. And so it's in everybody's module when we start. And so when students log in and do modules, they can see it right away. One thing that has been interesting, so I work with students pretty constantly every day in my office, so we log into Canvas all the time and look. Not every instructor uses modules. And so then is it, how do I get the student to go there and look? And so it got out there. I'm not sure, and I think Vince will talk a little bit about all faculty getting it or talking about it or explaining it to students. So I'm thinking of how do we get this information to students? And I'm thinking it's probably in our first year experience course, really walking through. So when I teach our first year experience, I clearly walk through a syllabus, every line, we talk about what we look for. I also go through Canvas. So, but it gets out in our modules.
Yeah, and I think it is important. We may have said it, but I sometimes repeat myself. We did roll this out with everyone's blessing to online and hybrid and face-to-face. So we decided that these items should even be in our face-to-face courses that use Canvas as their LMS. So, all right. So I had a couple other, I want to hit a question on the academic freedom one. I think you could probably spend a whole day talking about academic freedom. I guess my understanding of academic freedom isn't the same as some of my colleagues. So I don't know if I'm the best person to understand that. My belief is academic freedom. I think when you read the law and the way it's written is to talk about, it specifically mentions that the content you teach as your freedom to teach that. So for example, if I wanted to teach about maybe the benefits of one theorist in an education program that may be, in my eyes, a little bit better than some of the others, I can't lose my job for that. I can't be disciplined for that as long as it's what I'm saying is verified by the academy. It wouldn't be something that's completely out there. So that's really what we come into. And for some reason, some of our faculty believe that the pedagogy falls under that. And that's where the gray area falls in is the pedagogy impacted by academic freedom. But my take is my dean could come in and say, I want you to do less lecturing and more group work. And I would have to do that. I would still teach the same content. So that's interesting but I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's where we've been. So I'm getting off track here. The other ones were, it looks like some questions about where it lives and all of that stuff. All of our courses, when you log in the first time, the instructors are it pops to modules. They have to manually go in and change it to go away from modules. Even if they do that, the module section is alive, so students can still get to that in every course. I'm just reading.
Clearly from student support, I'm all about it being there. And so I lie with Vince on the academic freedom. I also don't want to be told how to teach my courses, but just getting the information students need, I think is vital.
All right, and the last question so far, I've seen how many weeks are online courses. It depends. We have 7-week courses at the graduate level, and I think a couple at the undergraduate level, and the rest are all 15 weeks, I believe.
Correct.
of where we fall in. And
And
we're
summers are
bringing in
12.
CBE, or competency-based education,
Correct.
and that's going to change everything, and that's going to fall under this too. Yes,
We're getting
we are,
there.
we are right next. We're going to show you an example of our blueprint right now. I believe that's next. I'm trying to
think
get off
two
here.
more.
There we go. So the final product, that
There we
is
go.
next.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to stop share, and I'm going to have to pull up.
So as he's doing that, I'll talk to you as he's getting there. And so things that I love in this are really some of the essential student support are put right in this blueprint. So it talks about accessibility needs. It shows students where student support is. So we run some cohorts that aren't even on campus. And so they're not physically, they may never have been here. So it shows them if they need to come for something, what they can find. I love that under student support services, we have our Academic Success Center, we have the library. In the Academic Success Center, we've developed what's called a road to success. So it's a link through the student portal, and we've put all kinds of resources for students to go through here.
All right, so Alisa, because I think everyone else is muted, can you see the?
I can.
Okay, very good. And I apologize at this point. Maybe Alisa, you can help me. When I bring this up, I can no longer see the chat. So if people have questions, if Alisa, just jump in and kind of help us out. So this is what we developed, and I'm glad people had the questions on this. I'm going to click through a couple just to show some of the processes we went through and how it looked. I will acknowledge up front, it's not perfect. So if you have comments on things we can make it better, I'd love to hear them. Probably best served maybe for email at our end, send us emails of ways we can improve this, because our goal is to make this the best experience for our students. But if you look at 7.1, which talks about technical support and where to obtain it, we tried to build the technical support tab right here where you can open it. Hopefully this moves relatively quickly with me being on Zoom. And it explains, there's a couple strategic things, and maybe not perfect, but this is things that we thought of in doing this. It says you need to know how to obtain it and where to obtain it. Well, we have the phone numbers, we have an email address for them to contact, how to get our local IT help desk. And then even more importantly, because some of our students never come onto our campus, where is it located? So we actually put the map feature in so students didn't have to feel nervous of coming to our campus, that we had a direct, it's in this location, and you can MapQuest it right to get there. And then once you're on campus, we have the dot to find it. So that was something we strategically thought of because some of our population just are not here. And I guess it's really important for this one for you to know where the ATM is, but for some reason that's on there, that made me laugh. But so that is the 7.1. When we're looking at 7.2, which is the link to accessibility policies and services.
The top
I
one.
saw it. I had
The
top
first one.
one. All right. So we have, again, just a statement, how to find it. And even better, after you've looked at that, let's say you want to learn more, you go into the click here. This will take you to the actual page that we control at the web or at the university for how to find all of our accessibility services, who you contact. We have the person's contact name over here. So it's all current information, and then all the documents that they would need to find student success are all loaded right there. So we found that to be very helpful, I hope. So here's where it's slow for a second. 7.3 student support service, looking at student support for academics. So that would be student support services right here, and also the student handbook I think would be helpful. But this one now will take you to Alisa's world right here, where we have the direct link into her Academic Success Center that now you can, first of all, the map on the last page, and now you see her wonderful working conditions, which I think are beautiful there, that she gets to work in every day, and how we get access to testing. Anything that we do there, it's in one consistent spot for them to find. Alisa, are we seeing any questions at this point?
No.
Okay, so I'm terribly boring and they've turned off, or we're hitting what they need. The next one, 7.4, we thought student life would be the one for that one, and also the student handbook as well. But this is the one, how do you support the student, give them what they need outside of academics? So this one, small message, and then we take them to are how, unfortunately, it keeps popping up. All the items on the left. We have everything you need is down. How do I get counseling? How do I, find my books? Those types of things. Everything that they need to do is in one spot, plus other options that they can take care of. How do I put money on my dining card so I can keep eating? Those types of things that students sometimes don't know who to ask. We put all in one spot, and it's even been updated. This is a nice thing. Obviously, this happened since we've done this. COVID stuff pops in. We can populate it there, and the message is updated automatically with what we're sending out. And then if you look at 6.4, this is one I will admit we need to look at right away. And because we did every semester, about every year, I get an email like, hey, take a look at this. Do you see anything that needs to be updated? So these are the main vendors that we use, that we were using about a year ago, that our instructors were using in their courses. And this takes them to their privacy statements. I think right away, the whole I see is like Zoom and things of that nature that we're using, the video conferencing, those need to be updated, and we need to get those in. So hopefully you noticed that as well. But I find it helpful. This links directly to the sources, privacy policy, and then we just check to make sure it's still, because as you probably get updates all the time like I do, they're updating. And 8.6, technology accessibility, that one, or vendor accessibility, we said technology accessibility. So just ways in which the accessibility items for each of those. So we try to make this a live, living thing that can constantly be updated to support our students. And one thing that did come up from this whole thing is we didn't have a clear netiquette statement. And that was developed at our university because of this. When we said different people were saying different items, and we thought we should have a clear statement. And I thought that falls into some of the other standards, but not totally to the point where we felt comfortable saying that this covers, we could say it covers the whole standard, just like minimum technology requirements. It's part of it, but we also know the instructor may have different ones for their course. So these are just general ones that we put in for our students. So I don't want to bore you terribly. So if you, like, again, hanging out with your grandparents, hearing a story, I don't want you to have to look at every one of our pictures of the entire trip. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to share any items with you. I'm now going to pop back to our PowerPoint.
What I love about having that blueprint in our modules is that's a lot of information that needs to be in a course syllabi, and it's right there and we know it's current. The links are just phenomenal for students to click on.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to keep moving. Here are our future challenges, because we'll probably end here in a minute or two, and that way you have time for questions or just go get lunch early. The biggest challenge that I see, number one, is upkeep. As Alisa hinted before, the instructional designer who was part of this, he had passed away. New instructional designer that's worked directly with this, I think she's still trying to understand how it works and the way in which it can be supportive of students and her role within that. The vice president of informational services has moved on to another university, and we have outsourced our tech people. So there's just that challenge, and they're kind of sometimes moving in and out, understanding the roles. And I was the only other person who designed it, and I'm a chair of a committee, which I will be moved off. I have most 4 more years, possibly just 1 more year on this committee. And then my focus will be in a different area. So who's going to be the one to keep this up if no one has buy-in and sees the value? Because a lot of our things at our university, I find, are person-driven. So we have something we're really interested in, we drive it, but then when that person either moves on or moves to a different role, it dies. And that's, basically no one's taking care of that plant. No one's watering it every day to make sure it still stays alive. The web page being accurate, I don't have control of that. I can't fix it. So we have to go, there's a process, we have to send things in. So that has been a bit of it's not immediate. So we always have to manage to make sure it happens. And some of our web designers are off-site. They're contracted. So that creates some challenges. And the final thing that I see is just the understanding of need. Not everyone sees the value in it. And when you don't have I think I heard the term waving the flag. We don't have someone waving the flag all the time. It's a challenge. And I worry about who's taking it on next, because this was, I think, a valuable tool for our students that I hope that they use. And we have no way of tracking if they do, though, because no student's going to come up and say, you know what, that counseling services was wonderful. I'm so glad you put it up there because I was able to get help because I was, considering self-harm last night. So that's a challenge for us. Alisa, what do you see on your end?
So my questions and concerns for the future, because I definitely find it valuable for students. And so my concerns with us moving forward are, where does it lie and who owns it? Is it the e-learning committee? Is it an instructional designer? Is it from under academic affairs? And who owns it? And so clearly Heidi, who's on the call with us, and Vince and I were part of that e-learning committee when it was developed, and we believe in it. And so as faculty move off, what does the next group understand it as well? Jennifer had asked a question, and I'm hoping the attitude and the buy-in will change. And I'm hoping that is one of the best things that comes out of COVID, is the understanding of how can we best support students. And really, this is a helpful tool that saved faculty a lot of time if we think about how we do that. So in that filling out the rubrics, it checked off all those features, when a course was getting certified. Those are my concerns as we move forward, Vince.
Sure. And another question here. Do we have faculty take online courses before teaching one? So again, they're supposed to, yes. Do we always? No. Same thing with courses that are supposed to be approved by us to go online. Sometimes it's like, this course has to, and we've got to get it done because whatever, and it happens. So we, again, are an advisory board. We're not a barrier board. So the barrier really lies with the deans and the administration to make sure it's followed. And I believe we are getting right near our end. So there's our information. If you want to reach out to us in any way, please do. We're happy to answer questions, whatever else we can do. And I think if the deck goes out to the world, I think it has, or you have access to it. The next slide has our references if you care to look at them and see where we found them. Because I did see some comments of, can we have the references? So now we're at the point, I think we have a couple minutes. What questions do we have? Carl, you've kind of hinted that we're at 4 minutes, so I don't want to go over it. People want to eat.
We have about 3 minutes left now.
All right.
Is there any questions for people? I thought you did a very nice job. For the idea of consistency, I always think of the hotel room. Like the Hilton hotels, the beds are always in certain areas. The closets are in certain areas, so that when somebody goes into a different hotel, there is comfort in knowing that everything is in the same place. So if a student goes into a course and they know certain things are in certain areas, there's a comfort in knowing that even though this is new material, these particular things are always visually consistent.
Absolutely.
So, but you get a lot of, thank you. It was great information. Nicely done.
All right.
Well,
thank you all for taking the time, because there's nothing worse than listening to two people talk to you for 40 minutes on Zoom. And we just did that the whole time. I do apologize. It wasn't more interactive, but we were worried about what we'd have and again, teaching to the lowest denominator. We come from a world where some of our students are doing this on phones and parking lots, and we didn't know where people would be at, and we didn't want to leave anyone out. So we apologize. Face-to-face have probably been a little differently, but any questions, either of us would be happy to help you with.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a wonderful session, and I think we're just about out of time now. So
thank you.
We can leave it open for another minute and see if people have questions, but we're done. Go have some lunch.
All right.
Thank you. Good job,
Thank
Vince.
you.
Thanks, Alisa. Thanks for the help. Well done.
And we'll see you for the VR. That's mine after lunch.
The VR after lunch. Okay, I'll take a look for that.
Yeah. But you talk about technology limitations and economic disparity. Those are major hindrances.
Yeah.
What I saw from COVID more than anything was the great divide, right? And
yes.
So where we had challenges before, everything was just magnified. And I think that's what happened when courses moved online, for sure.
Well, I talk about that in my talk. It's Maslow's before Bloom's.
Absolutely.
You know, it's pretty amazing. So, did you see my email about updates? Uh-oh, somebody's sending me an email. Okay, so where time is up, I'm going to go ahead and close the session out then. Thank you again,
very much.
and a
Thanks,
wonderful
Bill.
job. Good job.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.